They built a cinema, right in the middle of the rice paddies. Imagine that, a state-of-the-art movie theatre, a swimming pool, and air-conditioned buildings all plonk down in a place where, just a few years earlier, folks were carrying water on their shoulders and threshing rice by hand just to eat. This is a story of how a corner of rural Thailand became a little slice of America overnight and what happened when the music stopped. I live in Isaan now and have done for years. It is a place of sticky rice, brutal heat, and the kind of quiet that seeps into your bones. However, settle in because the story of how this place became what it is today is far stranger than any fiction. Now, you have to understand Isan in the 1950s to grasp the shock of what came next. This part of Thailand, well, it has always been the poor relation, has it not? Culturally, it is more Lao than Thai, a fact that Bangkok has spent centuries trying to forget. Historically, the Thai state treated the region like an internal colony. The peasant farmers here were pushed to the margins both politically and economically. Upward mobility was not just difficult, it was practically a fantasy. Then, in the early 1960s, the Americans arrived. The Vietnam War was heating up and Uncle Sam needed bases close to the action. 4 major installations sprang up across Isan. Suddenly, this backwater was the center of a global conflict. The US set up shop in places like Udon at a sprawling facility known as Camp Ramasan. Let me tell you about Camp Ramasan because it is the perfect example of the bizarre world that emerged. This was not just a military outpost, it was an alien installation. The most visible landmark was the elephant cage, a colossal radio mask array that looked like something out of a sci-fi film. However, it was not just the technology which was alien. The base was a self-contained American town. I mean it. It had its own cinema, a swimming pool, indoor and outdoor sports facilities, its own power plant and everything. Why bother leaving the base when you had all the comforts of home? It was as if someone had picked up a suburban American neighborhood and deposited it in the middle of a country that still relied on water buffalo for plowing. Here is a question for you. What happens when an unstoppable force of American consumerism meets an immovable object of rural poverty? It's not all shiny movie screens and swimming pools, of course. 1,200 US military and NSA personnel worked at Ramazan in shifts, which meant that they were always off-duty GIs pouring into Udon for some rest and relaxation. The town turned into a 24-hour party with bars, restaurants, and entertainment springing up overnight. Now, this is where the scholars tend to get all misty-eyed about economic growth. Or more often, they focus on the more sordid aspects of it all. The rented wives and the prostitution. Yes, that happened. It was a grim reality for many. The GIs, as one local woman remembered, were mostly just out to party and spend money. They saw themselves as superior, and the locals were just part of the scenery. There is no sugarcoating the exploitation, the aircraft accidents, the noise pollution, or the sheer arrogance of some of these men. Nevertheless, let us not be too quick to judge the Islam people who navigated this new reality. They were doing what people have always done, trying to survive and, if they were lucky, get ahead. You see, The Thai government's internal colonization had left the region so impoverished that the arrival of the US military was, ironically, a godsend. It was a chance to break the cycle of poverty. Now, please think about this. In 1969, a 17-year-old girl named Banjon had had enough of farming. She was tired of carrying water and threshing rice just to put a meal on the table. So she and a few friends went to the city to find work. They found jobs as waitresses in a restaurant catering to GIs. She remembered Farang customers were better than Thai customers for tips. She had no English. They communicated with hand signals. However, she was making thousands of baht a month at a time when gold was selling for 800 baht an ounce. This was the reality for thousands of Isaan workers. They were not passive victims, they were opportunists. They leveraged the economic opportunities provided by the US presence to mitigate the systematic inequality that had held them back for so long. The service industry around the bases boomed, pulling in people from all over the region like a gold rush. The local economy was transformed, not just by bars, but by construction, transport, and all the jobs that came with a massive injection of cash. Besides, the changes did not stop when the war ended in 1975. This brings me to the other legacy of that time, something that is still visible today. When the GIs left, some of them simply did not go home. They married local women and stayed. In one village in Udon Thani, known locally as the Farang son-in-law sub-district, there are now hundreds of Western men from the USA, the UK, Europe, you name it, married to local women. What's more, there is the other legacy, the children, the Lukkun, the Thai Amerasians, half Thai, half foreign, often abandoned by their fathers. They were left to grow up in a society that sometimes saw them as a reminder of a shameful past, invisible and discriminated against. One woman remembered how after the war, Udon was full of Lukkun children from GI fathers and Thai mothers. They were, with their Farang faces and reddish hair, speaking Lao. The departure of the Americans in 1976 was abrupt. The bases were turned over to the Thai government, with Camp Ramazan eventually becoming a Royal Thai air base. For the locals, it was a double-edged sword. The easy money had dried up, leaving many without the jobs they would become dependent on. Nevertheless, those years of exposure to the outside world had changed them. They had had a taste of a different life. When the former American soldier returned to Udon to recruit workers for companies in the Middle East, the villagers were initially scared. However, one man, heavily in debt, took the chance. He returned flush with money, and soon men from almost every household in some villages were heading to Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and beyond. So there you have it. The legacy of the American military in Isaan is a complicated mess. It is a story of exploitation, yes, but also of resilience and enterprise. It is about the destruction of old ways of life and the creation of strange new ones. That cinema they built at Camp Ramazan, it is long gone, probably scavenged for parts. However, the ghosts of those times still linger. On one hand, you have the quiet dignity of the Isaan people I know today who endured these challenges and found a way to turn a profit from the chaos. On the other hand, you have the memory of an American empire that roared into their lives for a decade and then left, leaving behind a legacy that is still being unpacked. Besides, the question I posed earlier, What happens when American power meets rural poverty? Well, the Isaan people got some money, a few new roads, and a lot of headaches. And what did the Americans get? Their airfields, their listening posts, and a number of them got a new family. However, they forgot a whole lot of them. Many of those looked on are still waiting for recognition. Funny old world, is it not? You come for the geopolitics and stay for the sticky rice. Or, in the case of the Yanks, they came for the bombing runs and left a few children behind. Now, that is what I call successful foreign policy. Have any of you seen the remnants of the US bases in Thailand? Or do you know any Isaan families impacted by this history? Share your stories in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious to hear your perspective on this. Take care and goodbye.